Hello, hello, beautiful people. Welcome to today's Wealth by Design lesson. I'm so excited to get into it, but real quick, let me just double check all of this technology stuff. All right, so let's just get right into it. Thank you so much for watching this video. My intention for the Wealth by Design series is to help you understand what is at the root of what has been keeping you stuck in your finances and what's going to help you get to that next level. So, yesterday we talked about the three reasons why I stopped teaching traditional budgeting. And at the end of the day, it all boils down to the fact that it wasn't working for the majority of my clients. Even though I love budgeting and it works for me, it didn't work for about 80% of my clients. And so the three things that that allowed me to realize that was number one, restriction. My clients felt like budgeting meant restriction. And if people feel restricted from something, they're just not going to do it. Number two, discipline. It required too much discipline. And as I talked about yesterday, discipline is great for starting, but it is awful for finishing. Discipline is not a recipe for consistency, and therefore it didn't work. And then finally, there was exhaustion. It is one thing to build a budget that is based on how you feel in the moment. No matter when you're creating your budget, and no matter what you try to account for while you're creating it, even if you try to account for those times where you're going to be tired or those times where you're not going to feel like it, the reality of that is going to hit different. And when you're faced with living out your budget in real life and your emotions are putting you through it, it's going to be very hard to maintain it. So that was the final straw in helping me realize that budgeting alone, traditional budgeting as it stood, was never going to be the answer for the majority of my clients. The other thing that I pointed out yesterday is that for what I noticed overall is that once people hit that 60-day mark, something shifted for them. Once they hit 60 days, they were much more likely to not just like their budget, but to fall in love with their budget and to become obsessed with their budget. And the reason for that is because whether they realized it or not, they didn't just try to change the numbers, they allowed the numbers to impact their lives. They allowed the numbers to tell them something about how they needed to live in their day to day life. So, even though I spent a considerable amount of yesterday talking about how budgeting doesn't work, I want to amend that a little bit because it's not the case that budgeting itself doesn't work. I've already said it works for me, it works for at least 20% of my clients. The reason that it's not working for the 80% is because we've been using budgeting incorrectly. Budgeting is the beginning of the story. It is not the end of the story. Budgeting is never the thing that was meant to help you build wealth. Budgeting was never the thing that was going to help you get to your next level. Budgeting is only a tool that is meant to inform your life. So, budgeting was not meant to help you build wealth. The budget was meant to help you build a life that builds wealth. And somewhere along the way, those two things became conflated, and we started looking at the budget as the tool that was supposed to magically transform our lives. And so, what I want to talk to you today, what I want to talk to you about today is how do you begin to infuse your budget into the fabric of your day to day life? All right. So a lot of these concepts are just things that I'm layering in on top of what I've already been teaching for years. All of these things are just layering on top of what you're already doing. So there's 5 things that I want you to focus on in order to create a budget that is infused into your day-to-day life. And what this is going to require from you is that you are willing to do something different day to day, that you are willing to build a system that is making your life flow more easily. And here's the question that I have for you. There are so many people who are resistant to creating systems in their lives. They bump up against issues, they bump up against challenges, they bump up against things that slow them down every single day. But rather than do something about it, they choose to endure it. If you are one of those people where you are constantly, you're building up your savings, but then all of a sudden something comes up and your savings are gone. Or if you're the type of person who you haven't been able to stick to your budget, or if you're the type of person who, when you look at your life, it feels a little bit chaotic. You're always tired. You're always exhausted. You don't have the amount of energy and presence in your day to day life that you want to have. The question that I want you to ask yourself is, why have you been comfortable with that being your existence? You don't have to live that way. You don't have to accept it. And so I want you to consider, why have you? Why have you allowed the struggle bus to be a constant part of your day-to-day life? And when I say struggle bus, sometimes I think that it's easy to accept the dysfunction in our lives because it's simple. When we think of dysfunction, we think of something that is chaotic or something that is toxic. But I'm just talking about something that is not working the way that you need it to work. Every little friction point that exists in your life is ultimately costing you time and therefore costing you money. So today we're going to talk about 5 different things that I want you to consider in order to build a life-based budget. This isn't just the traditional type of budget where you're looking at the numbers only. In this budget, I want you to consider your entire life. Okay. So the first thing that I want, so we're going to be using the Align method, ALIGN. This is the Align method, and this is going to help you remember what you should be looking for when you are creating a budget that takes your entire life into consideration, not just one aspect of it. So number 1 is awareness. Whenever you are creating, whenever you want to create a financial plan that is conducive to your entire life, the first thing that you need is awareness. And the place that you get awareness is 2 places that you get awareness. Number 1 is from looking at your bank statements, and number 2 is from looking at the context of your day-to-day life. Okay. People know that they need to look at their numbers in order to get a sense of what's going on in their finances, but they often neglect looking at their day-to-day life. And I want you to break down your day-to-day life in 4 different segments. I want you to look at your morning, afternoon, your evening, and your night, and what is happening at each of those segments. In the morning, are you getting coffee? Are you getting breakfast? What are those little things that you're doing inside of your day that are costing you time or costing you money or costing you energy or costing you presence? In the afternoon, are you eating out for lunch? Are you doing things with your coworkers? Like what is the context of your afternoon? Number 3 is your evening, and then number 4 is your night. What are the 4 things that are happening inside of those specific areas of your day that are costing you time and money? And then when we look at the numbers are going to give us that information right away. The numbers are going to tell us, the numbers are literally your life happening in real time. If you look at your bank statement, it is your life happening in real time. It's showing you exactly what is happening. It is the play-by-play of what's going down in your day. The problem is it's so easy to just think about those numbers as if they're something that lived inside of a computer. It's easy to think about those numbers just as something that lives inside of your bank account. Okay? But it's so much more than that. Those numbers on the screen, they don't live there. They live inside of the context of your day-to-day life. So when we're looking at number 1, awareness, we want to get aware of the numbers and how they are showing up in your day-to-day life? When are you going grocery shopping? When are you taking those, random trips to TJ Maxx? What is happening inside of your day that is impacting your time, your energy, and ultimately your finances? Okay. Number two, the second thing I want you to look at. This is doing a lot of the heavy lifting in our conversation today. Okay. I want you to look at your life. So basically, when we look at awareness, A is looking at the numbers, and L is looking at your life. So we pretty much went through that already. Number three, identify your uncommitted income. L is doing a lot of the heavy lifting, but I is so important to your overall ability to build wealth. I is identify your uncommitted income. I hear all types of numbers thrown out. People want you to know how much money you're bringing in. They want you to know your emergency fund. They want you to know your credit score. They want you to know how much money you have in debt. All of those numbers pale in comparison to your uncommitted income. I do budgeting in a very specific way. First, we start off with your income, and then we go through your expenses, bills, and debt. Your income is the amount of money coming in, and your expenses, bills, and debt, that is the amount of money that's going out. Okay, we haven't done any saving yet. We haven't done any investing yet. We haven't done any of that. We haven't paid down any additional debt yet, because what we want to look at, the number that we want to be clear about, is your uncommitted income. The uncommitted income number is going to tell you very clearly how much money you have available to build wealth, period. Your uncommitted income number is going to tell you how much money you have available to build wealth for the rest of the year. That is your wealth potential ceiling. So if your uncommitted income is only $1,000, the ceiling for you in terms of being able to build wealth is $12,000 for the year. Okay. So now you know your uncommitted income number. And obviously, you want to figure out, how do I get this number as high as possible? In order to get it high, there's only two things that you can do. You can increase your income, or you can reduce your expenses. There are some people who will tell you, don't cut back, focus on increasing your income. That's dumb. The equation clearly tells us that in order to have more money, we need to do there are two variables, income and outflow. And we want income to go up and we want outflow to go down. So we need to be looking at both of them. This is not an either or conversation. This is a both and. But there's something that I'm going to tell you, that the people who are telling you to focus on your income, they're not going to tell you this. Your expenses are what you have control over right now. Your income is something that you can impact for the future, and you absolutely should. I definitely want you thinking about, how do you increase your income? And that's something that you should be doing every 6 to 12 months. Every single 6 to 12 months, you should be increasing your income. That means you're always updating your resume. You're always looking for the next opportunity. You're always thinking about what is the next industry that you can move to. You're having those conversations with your employer about what your expectations are, because if you don't have it with them, they're not going to have it with you. Okay, so increasing your income, reducing your outflows, that's going to give you your uncommitted income, and that is going to tell you your annual wealth potential, period. So you don't have to wonder about, how much can I save and invest this month? You don't have to wonder about that. That is a very clear number that you can have. Okay, so once you get your uncommitted income, now we're going to move to G. G is, I love it. This is the part that a lot of people miss. You have your uncommitted income, and G is, give it direction. Give it very clear direction. There is a reason why I said that your uncommitted income is the top of your wealth potential, because you might choose to take some of that money and put it towards self-care. And you are an excellent investment, but it's not tactically increasing your wealth potential. So if your uncommitted income is $1,000 a month and your wealth potential is $12,000 for the year, but you want to take $3,000 of that for the year and put it towards your self-care, well, now your wealth potential is $9,000. And then let's say we want to take some of that and put it towards your emergency fund, and then some of that and put it towards your investment. You want to make sure that every single dollar that you have, it has a job. It's working for you. It's working on your behalf. But the thing that I want you to remember is that all workers are not created equal. This is the part that people often forget. They think that just because they've allocated their income, they've done a good job. They think that just because their money has a role in their finances, that is enough. But that is not enough. The question that you have to ask yourself now that your money actually has a job is this a worker that is making money for you, or is this a worker that's just doing a job? That those are two different things. So when you put your money in your emergency fund, that money is doing its job. When you put your money into your investment account, that money is now working for you. It is actively working to make you money. If you put that money towards your self-care, that money is doing a job. It's not, and it's doing a different type of job. And I don't want to diminish the work that it's doing, but it's not doing the same type of job. It might be giving you that, it might be increasing your capacity. And when you increase your capacity, you have more availability to build wealth. So it's not to say that any job is better than the other. It's just that you have to know what role you're giving your money, and it has to be diversified. You can't give every single worker the same job, because then in that case there's going to be a huge hole in your overall financial plan. So some of those dollars should be increasing your capacity, some of those dollars should be supporting your emergency fund, and some of those dollars should be working on your behalf in order to make you more money. Okay, and so that's G, give it direction. And then we have N, which is, again, super, super important, doing a lot of heavy lifting here. Normalize systems that bring your budget to life. Okay? Remember what we said at the beginning. Your budget was never meant to build you wealth. It was meant to build a life that does. Write that down. Good afternoon, Mom. Hey. So write that down. Your budget was never meant to help you build wealth. It was meant to help you build a life that does. The problem and the disconnect is that we think our budget is supposed to do the heavy lifting, and that is not the case. Your budget is an informer. Your budget is a tool that is designed to inform you. It is designed to inform how you structure and design your life. It is your life, the structures, the routines, and the rituals inside of your life that will determine the quality of your life and your ability to build wealth. Write all that down, okay? It is your budget that is going to inform how you build your life, and how you build that life is going to how you build it, the structures, the rituals, the routines that are inside of your day-to-day life, those are the things that are going to determine the quality of your life and whether or not you are able to build wealth. We think that wealth is built in the grandiose gestures and the grandiose moments that we focus on it, that we give our attention to it. But that is not when wealth is built. When you create your budget, that is not a wealth building activity, because focusing on a budget is a sheet of paper and a spreadsheet, and most people never even do anything with it. Building your budget, creating your budget, working your budget is not a wealth building activity. The wealth building activities are when you take your budget and you put those structures that are based on the budget into your day to day life. And for a long time, I was quiet. I was quiet while people were saying, let's not worry about those $7 Starbucks coffees. And I don't know if y'all heard, but Starbucks just said that they were going to start charging $9 for their coffee. And if it didn't matter, they wouldn't be becoming billionaires off of you. But the reason that it matters is because wealth isn't built when you created the budget. It's built in the day-to-day automatic activities that you do. That's where it compounds. So if every day you're going to Starbucks, if every other day you're doing Uber Eats, if every other day you're doing something that's costing you money, that's taking money from your financial ecosystem and putting it into the cash registers of somebody else, those are the moments where your wealth is being built. We think that having a coffee once a day is not a big deal. And it's not the fact that it's the coffee that's the big deal. It's the fact that it's integrated into the fabric of your day-to-day system, of your day-to-day routine. That's where it gets dangerous. In the same way that coffee can be dangerous against your budget, saving $10 a day could become dangerous for your budget, working towards building your savings account. But we don't think that the little things matter, because we think that it's when I get a bonus at work, I'm going to put $1,000 or $5,000 into my savings account. When I get this windfall of money, I'm going to make sure that I take care of that. That is not where your wealth is built. Your wealth is built inside of the day-to-day details of your life. What day-to-day small actions are going to beat sporadic big actions every single time. And if you want proof of this, print out your bank statements and look. You're not going to see that you were spending $1,000 here and $700 there. What you're going to see is that you were spending $3 here, $7 there, $14 here, $77 there, $13 here, every single day. And you're going to see that is what constantly had money draining out of your account. It wasn't the fact that you paid rent once a month, although, yeah, rent is a doozy. Yeah. The car note, absolutely making a dent. But outside of that, you're going to see it's the little things that make a big difference. And when you get this, then you will start to understand the importance of planning out your day-to-day life. Yesterday, I took some time to make me some smoothies for the next 3 days. Okay, why? Because I want to be able to have things that are delicious and that aren't going to cost me a lot of money. And in the middle of the day, I do not want to be thinking, I'm hungry. What am I going to do? That is a recipe for disaster. As soon as you have to make a decision inside of your day, especially on something like food, it's a wrap. And if you have to do that every single day, if every single day you're making decisions about what am I going to eat? What am I going to drink? What am I going to do? Where am I going to go? Every single one of those decisions have the potential to leak financial resources away from you into somebody else, away from your financial ecosystem and into somebody else's cash register. Okay, so when we're talking about things for you to consider as you build a life-based budget, the reality is that a life-based budget is the only budget that you're ever going to build. The question is, are you aware of it or not? That's the thing that you have to ask. Are you aware that you're building a budget that is going to be represented in your life? All right. And so to wrap this up for today, I had so much fun. I hope you guys had as much fun as I did. If you learned something, let me know in the comments. What are you taking away from our conversation today about a life-based budget? And these are concepts like this idea that budgeting in its current form isn't working for the majority of my clients is something that I have been sitting with for years. And so to finally put words to it and to finally begin to structure it inside of my brain in a way that can make sense to other people. I'm so excited because this is the thing that is going to help you push past your financial barriers. If you are a person who you're a high achiever, you're successful in so many areas of your life, you love planning, but for some reason your budget hasn't worked, this is going to be the thing. I need you to become as obsessed with planning your life and planning your routines as you are with planning everything else. Okay? So, inside of the align method, there are two things that are doing the heavy lifting, and one thing that is super important, even though all of this is very, 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 very important. A, awareness. Become aware of your finances, and the number one way to do that is to print out your bank statements and to look at the numbers. Number two, look at your life. Specifically, look at your morning, your afternoon, your evening, and your night. And what I specifically want you looking for, where are the friction points in your life? Where are you constantly spending money? And where are you constantly leaking time? Number three, and L is one of like the important things. Number three, I, again, very, very important, your uncommitted income. So this is going to tell us what is your overall wealth potential. People are running around clueless about their overall annual wealth potential. And to me, that is a number that you want to lock in. I have um, our budget by design program where it runs you through all of these numbers. And one of the main ones that is going to input to you or give to you is your uncommitted income. Number four, give your uncommitted income a job, give it a direction. And all jobs are not the same. Some jobs are going to serve a purpose, and some jobs are going to make you money. Like that's the purpose, to make you money. So you want to make sure that you're clear. Once you have your uncommitted income, what is the job that you want to give it? All right. Number five, normalize the systems that bring your budget to life. Okay. This is actually going to be something like your meal prep system. What is your system for prepping your meals throughout the week so that when you go to work, maybe you can eat out on Wednesday and Friday, but you already know what it is for the rest of the days. Or maybe it's going to be something like your cleaning system, okay? Because you can't live in chaos and think that you're going to create the space to build wealth. And you can't be always cleaning up clutter and always cleaning up mess and think that you're going to have the space to do the things that you need to do. It creates a bottleneck. And we don't talk about it enough. We say that time is money, but we don't act like we know that time is literally money or capacity, which is same thing. Okay, so normalizing the systems that are going to bring wealth into your life. And with that being said, I want you to become, for all those times where you have spent energy creating a budget, what I want you to do next is not leave that budget and think, oh, now I have new numbers that I need to live by. No, you take that budget and you infuse it into your life. And the way that you infuse it into your life is by focusing on those morning, afternoon, evening, and nighttime routines. Your budget doesn't live on a computer. Your budget doesn't live on a sheet of paper. Your budget lives in the fabric of your day-to-day life. And that is what is going to determine the quality of your life and also your ability to build wealth. And so, with that being said, have a wonderful rest of your day. And I'm going to see you tomorrow for the last day in this series where we talk about owning your budget identity. And I'm going to teach you how do you create a lifestyle budget that works for your personality, your lifestyle, and how your brain operates. All right. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. My pleasure. Thank you guys so much for being here.